Hello guys, and welcome to my Sarah's Intermediate Method tutorial for Skewb. So, if you haven't learned any Skewb method yet, and you don't think you're going to be interested in Skewb, I'd recommend that you learn the one algorithm method or Sarah's beginner method, and I'll have links for them in the description. But if you think that you're going to be into Skewb, you should just start off by learning Intermediate, because it's quite simple. There's only 12 algorithms, including when it's a skip. So you only have to learn 11 algorithms, technically. So, what Sarah's Intermediate is in beginners, you'll solve a layer, like that. Then, you'll orient the corners, like this. And then you'll place the center. So in Sarah's Intermediate, you solve a layer just like before. But the difference is you orient the corners while you put this center up, and then you do the last edges. So there's only 12 cases for Sarah's Intermediate, and that's because there's two different orientations of the corners that aren't solved, and then the center can be in 5 different positions. So one case would be it's solved completely, another case would be the corner solved and the center somewhere else, which you should already know if you know beginners, but I'll show you that in a second. Then there would be the this case with it on top, then on any of the sides, and then this case with it either on the top or any of the sides. So the first case is when you have the corners solved and the center on any of the sides. It doesn't matter which side because it's symmetrical since the corners are solved. So what you do is you put the center in the back, then you'll do a sledgehammer, which is R prime, F, R, F prime. Then you'll do a Y2 and do it again, R prime, F, R, F prime. This case, which is called the sledgehammer. So you'll recognize it in Sarah's beginner's method. You'll just see these corners, they're pointing to the side, and these are pointing away from each other. And so for this specific case, when it's like this, they're pointing to the right and the center's in front. You'll just use what you'll normally use in beginner's method, which is R prime, F, R, F prime, the sledgehammer. However, if you have this case where it's pointing to the right but it's in the back, then you'll hold the center in the front, you'll do the inverse of the previous case. This is called the head slammer. So what it is F, R prime, F prime, R. Now the next case is when you have these corners like this and the center's already on top. So what you do is just sledgehammer twice. And the first sledgehammer just sets up to another sledgehammer. Like that. So there are 2 more of these cases where you have the corners rotated like that, but for each of those you set up to a case like this. So I'm going to teach you these cases first. So the first case is when you have these pointing this direction and the center's on the left. So what you do here is you do a sledgehammer here, and now you have the simple sledgehammer case, so you can do that. Now the next case is when you have the corners the same way, except instead of the center being on the left, it's on the right. So what you'll do here is you'll rotate so the center's on the left, then you do a sledgehammer, and then you'll have a hedge slammer right here. Now the next case is when the center's in the back left. So what you'll do is rotate so that the center's in the back right, then you'll do a sledgehammer, and then you have another sledgehammer here. Now the next case is when you have it in the back right. So what you'll do is you'll keep it there, and you do a sledgehammer, Now you have a hedge slammer here. Now this case is when you have the corners like this and the center's on the top. So what you'll do is you'll rotate so the corners are pointing back here. You'll do a sledgehammer. Now you have this case. So sledgehammer and then a hedge slammer. So that algorithm works well if your centers on the sides aren't solved, but if you see that just these two corners are rotated, what you can do is you still hold it like this, but you do double sledgehammer, and now you have this case. So it's another double sledgehammer. Now here are the last two cases. Both of them are very similar. So in this case, you have the headlights pointing to the right, and this center is on the left. So you put the center in the back and do a sledgehammer, and now you have this case. So you can do sledgehammer, hedge slammer. Now the very last case is when you have the center on the right. So once again, you'll put it in the back and do a sledgehammer, and now you have this case. So a sledgehammer and a hedge slammer. So to sum this all up, I think that Serre's Intermediate is probably the best Skewb method to learn, because you can get really fast with it without having to learn too much. Although if you want to get really fast, you'll probably have to learn Serre's Advanced, which is solving a layer and then just solving the rest in an algorithm. But that's very algorithm heavy, and so I think this is a very good alternative to it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.